Damn. All right, hey everybody, and welcome to my guide to misfortune. Now, she is the only champion that I've played that has made me wish physical harm on assassin players just due to her playstyle. She is just so feast or famine. She really just made me run the full gambit of emotions playing her. I would say probably the worst part would be playing against Kazakhs with them doing Duskblade and doing those lethality builds that just absolutely wreck you and make you feel like shit for playing a champion that just instantly gets deleted off the map. But the other end of the spectrum, she can just absolutely dumpster team fights and just really carry her entire team and get people saying like, why the hell aren't people playing this more often? It seems so strong. But on the other hand, you just get people being like, goddamn misfortune support, and just dodge the lobby, you know. All right, and a little bit of background about myself. Diamond player, typically play mid lane control mages, and then AP casters down the bottom like Vel'Koz, Bran, Zyra, just that control kind of play style. And this misfortune is just so much fun right now, just because she's the only support right now, right? That uses like 80 items. I guess Pike's coming out, so that's gonna be sick. But right now, she is the only AD support that's semi-viable. So, all right, and last up, I've been getting great feedback recently on my videos and critique on how I can improve. So I'm always open to that kind of stuff. If there's something that you're seeing that I'm just doing that's just weird as shit and you just don't want it in the videos, let me know down below in the comments. And yeah, let's jump right into the guide. Alright, let's jump right into Misfortune's kit. First up, Love Tap. Misfortune deals bonus physical damage whenever she attacks a new target, so you can rotate this around when you are in the support lane by just hitting minions or by hitting the other enemy in the lane. This gives you a very high a really good trade into the enemies, so you want to be taking really short trades with this Love Tap passive up on your current target, and you will do a lot of damage. This is also applied on your Q when you use your Q. Next up, Q Double Up. Misfortune fires a bullet at an enemy, damaging them and the target behind. Both strikes can apply Love Tap. Also, if it kills the target, it will do a critical strike. This is your main harass tool as a support Misfortune and can do a lot of damage, and I always recommend that you use this as your the first skill that you are leveling up. Next up, Strut. Misfortune's passive gains movement speed when not attacked. This ability can be activated to grant bonus attack speed for a short duration. While it's on cooldown, Love Tap reduces the remaining cooldown of Strut. Now this is a very good ability to help you with those all-in trades, and also very good for running away with that reactivation after you've been hit and targeted in combat. It can give you all that passive movement speed and really let you move around the team fight in the ways you want. Next up, E, Make It Rain. Misfortune reveals an area with a flurry of bullets, dealing waves of damage to opponents and slowing them. This is kind of a one-point wonder in my opinion. I know a lot of people might look to max this E first, but it's been nerfed so many times after Misfortune was played that one time in the World Finals by Gorilla, and it really isn't what it used to be. Next up, the most iconic ability from Misfortune, Bullet Time. Misfortune channels a flurry of bullets into a cone in front of her, dealing large amounts of damage to enemies. Each wave of bullet time can critically strike. This is just an amazing way to control zones. This is a really unique ability for a support to have. That's why I think that she can work, because she does so much damage with this and just really stops anyone from moving through it unless they're a super tank and you're very far behind. Then it won't do that much damage. Alright, and that will wrap up Misfortune's kit. Alright, and next up, Misfortune's runes. There are 3 different builds I think that are viable on her right now. First up, my favorite, the one where you go Kleptomancy, then the boots, and then biscuits to help with just a little bit of sustain in lane, and then Cosmic Insight for some CDR, and then the Monoflow Band to just make sure you're able to spam that Q as much as possible, getting as many Kleptomancy procs as possible, and then Scorch for a little bit more early game damage. This allows you to just scale like a monster as a support. You are able to get a huge amount of gold from your Q poke, and it's very easy to do it, as you can Q a minion and then hit the champion behind them, proccing your Kleptomancy. You do lose a little bit of damage in your trading potential, but I do think this is far overweighed by the amount of gold you're going to get and items you're going to get in return. Next up, build 2. You can either go Arcane Comment or Summon Airy for a lot more early game poke than the Monoflow band, because your abilities are kind of expensive. And then Celerity is very good on Misfortune, synergizing with her Strut, and Scorch is also just a great ability on Misfortune. And then obviously Cosmic Insight and the boots are great. Now, last up, build number 3 is pretty good when you're going against teams that are going to be looking to all-in you. An enemy team that's going to be like, I'd say an example would be like Braum, Thresh, or Blitzcrank, that are always going to be trying to all-in you. Electrocute is great for those times. And then Cheap Shot, procced on E, Eyeball Collection for a little bit more damage, and then the Relentless Hunter to give you some more movement speed. And then Monoflow Band and Scorch, you can also go Celerity and just kind of change it out as you see appropriate. Alright, and that will wrap up the 3 builds that I think are viable on Misfortune support. Alright, let's run through a couple items that are very good on Misfortune support. Obviously, you want to be going the Spell Thieves, just because it's going to give you the most amount of damage in lane, and that juicy amount of gold you're going to get from those Q procs. I kind of split it up into 2 different rows with the type of items you want to get. First up, the anti-tank row. These are the items you really should be focusing on first if you're playing against a very tank-heavy team. Black Cleaver, Lord Dominic's, Mortal Reminder if they have a lot of healing. And then next up, if you're getting a lot of gold, you're trying to end the game early, which you kind of have to with Misfortune as the AD or as the support. You should be rushing into those lethality to really destroy those other carries in team fights, and those include Youmuu's, Duskblade, and that final lethality item is skipping my mind right now. And then that last row, the boot choices. You can go Mobies. I really actually like Swiftness boots in team fights. It's really your only mobility and ability to kind of stay alive in team fights is your movement speed, and I think that Boots of Swiftness just really works well with that kind of play style, and also synergizes well with your Celerity rune choice pick. Now, if you are just absolutely destroying your lane opponents, which sometimes you do, it's a pretty snowbally champion, you can go with the regular crit ADC build. It includes like Infinity Edge and Rapid Fire Cannon. It can be very effective. The reason I'm not listing this and recommending this build is because it's in such niche situations where you have a huge amount of gold at your disposal and you're really carrying. So this is just kind of a be-all end-all, like just do those 2 builds. I mean, it's not like you're going to be terrible in the late game going lethality, but I guess if you're in the late game and you have a lot of excess gold, you can just switch over to the crit items, because your ult can crit and your Q does crit as well. So she does synergize well with those, but I do recommend just going a bit of lethality and the anti-tank, just depending on what you need in the moment, because it takes a while for Misfortune to kind of put that gold together to get her items. So if you're playing against let's say a really squishy ADC that you know you can just run up on and kill because you're getting a couple kills in lane, I would recommend just go Duskblade is the best choice. If you're doing alright in lane, maybe you got a kill or 2, and you just need a little bit more mobility or survivability, you want to be going one of the other 2 lethality items. I usually go Youmuu's first, as it provides the most overall around just what you need with Misfortune. I'd say it's one of her best items that she can get right now in the current meta. Alright, and that will wrap up Misfortune's items. Alright, and finally some matchups you should really look out for with Misfortune. She has a couple really tough matchups, and we're going to start with the harder matchups first. Leona is a great pick into Misfortune. She's able to stop your ult from range. She's able to jump on top of you in the laning phase and burst you out very quickly. And also Blitzcrank has a similar playstyle. He's not able to stop your ult from range unless he's getting a clear path with his hook, but he's also able to burst you out in laning phase. But you are able to dodge hooks with your increased movement speed. That's really your only survivability, so you have to be very good at dodging to make the Misfortune work in the support lane. Another tougher matchup is Brand is actually able to do a little bit more damage and poke than you are, and it's another tough matchup. All of these are sub 41% win rate. A little thing to note with win rates with Misfortune is she's pretty low against everything. I think she has like maybe 4 or 5 matchups right now that are plus 50%. So they aren't too telling, but some of the matchups that I personally think Misfortune works very well into is, first up, Scion is my absolute favorite support to go into. I just get Kleptomancy and I just spam that Q and I get an insane amount of gold. Right now Misfortune has a close to a 55% win rate, which is huge for such a low win rate champion to have into a support. Next up, 2 of the other supports that are pretty good, that Misfortune is pretty good into. Thresh, you have a 45% win rate into, and Karma, you have a 47% win rate into. You're just able to do, I think, a little bit more in team fights than these 2 champions, unless they're a very talented Thresh or a very good with his timings Karma. So yeah, just look out for those 3 matchups, and Misfortune can work. Also, something to take note. Originally, Misfortune support was introduced as a counter pick into Zyra because you're able to destroy her plants very quickly and you're able to do a good amount of damage into her. So that is the last matchup. That is a pretty good pick. If you guys have a Misfortune support matchup that you just love and you think is really good into a certain thing, just let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on it, as it is a very hard thing to kind of picture. You have to play the lane to really know if Misfortune is going to be effective in that lane, in my opinion. All right, and that will wrap up the matchups for Misfortune. All right, and that will wrap up my guide to Misfortune support. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. I do try to upload pretty regularly, and I do a lot of educational stuff and kind of like off-meta type of theory crafting type of guides. And if you guys have any feedback or critique on the video, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm very receptive with that kind of stuff, and I'm just kind of looking to improve my videos at all points. So yeah, and as always, guys, take it easy.